Anita is the vice chair of the EIC board and CEO of DRS Group in Norway. She'll be moderating the session. She'll be joined, you've already been introduced to them already, by Enrico Letta, the former Prime Minister of Italy. Give him a round of applause for being here. And the mayor of Lisbon, who launched this whole initiative. Is he the godfather, the grandfather, maybe just the father of this initiative? I'll let you decide yourselves. Give it up for our amazing panel with the mayor of Lisbon, Carlos Moedas. Anita, Carlos, Enrico, join us. Carlos, bom dia. Obrigado. Ciao.
Ciao.
Good to see you. Mwah.
Okay.
How many expectations?
Absolutely.
Complicated.
But, we have a very serious topic to discuss. But I have to steal the first minute because it's been a while since Moedas has been here. And we talked about it yesterday, that this started out with an idea in 2015. So none of us would have been here if it hadn't been for your braveness and your encouragement to misbehave that I taught from the former president, Mark Ferguson, Professor Mark Ferguson. Look at what this misbehaving has resulted in. I think we do like this. All of you raise up, please. And for Mr. Moedas, to thank him for everything. Come on.
Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you. No. Thank you. No.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anita. No, please. Please.
You must be so proud.
I am.
One thing is being proud. The other thing is that this is so important. And we started this 10 years ago. But before that, Enrico Letta, you have probably written one of the most important reports about the future of the single market. And also debating the need for the fifth freedom. We're going to go back to that. You are the former Prime Minister of Italy, but now you're the Dean of the EI University and the President of Jacques Delors Institute. And Carlos, you are now, I don't know, could a Spanish guy be a godfather, or is that an Italian thing?
No, just Italian.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. You are now the mayor of Lisbon, and you've also introduced a unicorn factory. So we're going to go back to that. To the topic, obviously, Europe is not a global tech leader. Why?
Many reasons. First of all, thank you so much. It's great to be here. It's great to be here also to listen. And I would like to thank Commissioner Zahareva for her leadership, because we are full of expectations in these 5 years. For many reasons. The first reason, I think, is the fragmentation. Exactly what you said before. We are not one. We are 27. I know it seems strange because in our pockets we have the euro. And so we think that, okay, it's the same. One currency, everything is done. But in reality, it's not. We are 27. We are 27 in degrees. We are 27 in funding. We are 27 in regulations on these different aspects. We are 27 in energy, in telecom. We are 27. I give you just a small example. I was renting a flat in my new job in Madrid. And after a negotiation on how to change the contract for the electricity, on the other side of the call center, they told me, okay, Jan, we are ready. Just 2 details. Give me your bank account number and your telephone number. And I gave my bank account number, my telephone number, and everything was stopped because he told me on the other side, but what is this bank account starting with IT? It has to start with ES. And what is this number starting with plus 39? Yeah. You have to start with plus 34. My first temptation was to send my report. Saying, it's my right to have the electricity. even with an Italian bank account. But of course, it was not responsibility of the call center, it was the rules. We are all protecting our national systems, and we are not able to scale and to be able to be bigger. And we are all small. What you said, Caterina, was very good. I do it in a very small phrase. In Europe, there are two groups of countries. The small countries and the countries they don't know they are small.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I hope what we are doing all together is to understand that we are all small, and what last night, President von der Leyen said in a statement from Asia, and she said, our unity is our strength. And I think on innovation is really true, because it's more difficult to have funding at a high level, to have level playing field, the same rules. This is the main point, and I am very happy to be here with Carlos, because Carlos, in his 5 years, gave a great impulse to all of that. I'm sure that Caterina will do better.
So, Carlos, first of all, do you agree with him? It's the same reason, or do you have another perspective to why we're not the global tech leader?
So I mean, first of all, I'm so moved to be here and to see so many friends. And Commissioner, you have the best job in the world. So never forget that every day, because I was so happy here, and this is an amazing place. I'm always in agreement with Enrico. I quote him a lot on this, the small countries quote, because it's an amazing quote and so true. I read this report, I've read it a lot of times, because I think that today you really have to look into this question in another angle. And I always refuse to answer the question if we are the tech leader or not, because we were the leaders. And Europe was the leader. I mean, Europe, if you look at the backbone of the internet, we were the leaders. Siemens, Ericsson, we were the leaders. Even today, I mean, you talk about chips and semi-conduit circuits, and you look at the world, and without the Dutch company ASML, we have no boards and wafers to do those circuits. So I think that, yes, on that first phase, we were the leaders. And this second phase, we are not the leaders because of the reasons that Enrico, the Prime Minister, just said. We're not the leaders anymore, but we were the leaders. So the big question is that how can we be the leaders again? Because we were. So we just had this phase of the digital where we are not. And scale that Enrico was referring to, and the problems that he got into, which I also got into when I went back to my country, of PT/ES/IT. I think that those problems are also not just the scale in terms of the businesses or the financing, they are also the scale of the story. And I always tell that we are not telling our story anymore. And when I come to Brussels, and I think that every mayor should have like a compulsory, like 2 months in Brussels. They should come here to listen to the stories. You know, when I came here, I just crossed my friend Youssef. You know, he was born in Syria. He created an amazing company called LG Sonic. When I met him at the time, he was a company that was like 10 people, was probably worth 1 million euros. Now it's like 70 people. It's worth 70 or 80 million euros. He revolutionized the way that we look into cleaning water through algae. And you know, but we're not telling these stories. In Europe, we're telling it here to you because, I mean, the story of Youssef is also the stories of so many of you here. But you're not telling the story. We stopped telling the story. When you stop telling the story, then there's no scale. There's no scale because people don't know. And so I would add to what Enrico said, that scale is about a lot of things. Scale is about unity in diversity, because we are all different. But that's the strength that we have. It's the strength of being different, of all these stories to crossing. And I think that, again, the European Union has to communicate differently. And if there was something, apart from, I mean, this wonderful thing called EIC, and I can tell you a little bit more of the story at the beginning, was that I always try to tell the story in a different way. And so I would say that, yes, we can come back to be those leaders if you tell the story in a different way, if you look at problems in a different way, if we are more agile, if we have an EIC that is agile, and I really hope for Commissioner that you fight for that, on flexibility, that we get in not the bureaucracy of that we know, and we love Europe, but we know there's a lot of bureaucracy. How do you do that? And if you have the strength of doing that, of having that misbehavior that I had at the time, and if we all misbehave in the right way, then we can change the story and we can get back to be the leaders. And I'm deeply, deeply convinced that we will in the next 10 years, because everybody is looking at us. Because there's no better place than Europe. Probably 10 years ago we did know it. We didn't realize about it. But I can tell you, being a mayor, being in Lisbon, people look at you as the safe harbor of the world. So let's enjoy that moment and change it. And the EIC is crucial for that.
Some great ideas here, bringing the mayors to 2 months in Brussels. Should be part of their job descriptions, Mr.
Yes,
Letta.
I will bring also the general directors of the European Commission in the cities
Yes.
around
That's a good one.
Europe. I think it could be
That's
a good idea too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're talking a lot about storytelling and narratives and making sure that the European people takes ownership, both to the history of that we have been leaders and the hope of us becoming a future leader. So we have to talk about the fifth freedom, because you think that is key. But could you please introduce the fifth freedom, because there's a lot of people here who know what it is, but there might be some people who doesn't really understand what the fifth freedom is.
The big point is the fact that when we created the single market, when Jacques Delors created the single market, we were in the 80s. The world in the 80s was totally different. Many reasons. 2. First reason, Europe was the center of the world. The rest of the world was very, I would say, small. Yeah. The big European countries were the big countries in the world. I use always the same example. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit chauvinist. But my country, Italy, in the 80s, 60 million people yesterday, 60 million people today, was as big as China and India together. I know you're laughing, but it is true. That was Italy at that time. France was bigger, Germany was bigger. Today, after 35 years, we have the BRICS. They weren't there. China and India weren't there. We had 20 years of China, we will have the next 10 years India, then we will have Indonesia. So we have countries that are 3 times Europe. Indonesia will be an entire European Union, a new one. It is clear that the dimension we had at that time is not the dimension for today. This is why we have to integrate. Second, the economy at that time was different. It is not by chance that the single market is composed by 4 freedoms. Freedom of movement of goods, services, capitals, and people. It sounds very old style. Goods, services, capitals, persons. We miss something. And it is clear that what we are missing, it is what today makes the difference. Makes the difference with the US, makes the difference with many other parts of the world. And this is what is intangible. because in the quadripartition I mentioned, at the end of the day, the intangible is very difficult to put it some way. So the big need, because the single market is everything in Europe. The single market allows you, for instance, to decide at majority, not at unanimity. And that makes the difference in Europe. Because on the single market issues, we can decide with the majority rule. On the rest, on many other issues, we need to have the unanimity, and that makes the difference. So, what is the fifth freedom? Is the need to add this intangible, innovation, knowledge, skills. I think it is possible with the present treaties. This is the key point. Because in my report, I started with the idea not to change treaties. Not because I don't think that we need to change treaties. I think we need to change treaties. But I know that in the moment in which Trump, sorry, I have to quote Trump. I know it's
we
complicated.
decided this should be a non-Trump
Yes,
debate.
but
You were
it's,
so happy I
yes.
didn't mention Trump. You
Yes,
did
but
it.
it's at the 20th minute,
Yes.
at the 20th minutes of our conversation, I quoted Trump. But with the moment in which we are, it is impossible to react to what is happening, opening an institutional discussion in Europe on treaty changes. It is not the right way. We need to act with the tools we have. COVID told us that we have a lot of tools. We were successful during COVID with the present treaty. So the idea, we work with the Court of Justice and many lawyers on how to use some articles of the treaties, existing articles, to add to the Article 26, sorry to be too technical, that is the article of the four freedoms, to add the fifth one. What does it mean in concrete terms? First of all, it gave Commissioner Zaryeva a big flagship that President von der Leyen gave her. And this is a great flagship exactly for what Carlos just said. Our work in Brussels, I'm working in Madrid and Paris, but your work in Brussels, our common mission at the European level, is also a mission to try to mobilize energies, people, talent, and we mobilize energies also with the stories on how to do and how to mobilize energies. And having the fifth freedom today is, in my view, essential because it's the leverage to have the European degree, for instance, is the leverage to have a different way to funding. I spent 30 seconds on that because we are all enthusiastic. We are all mobilizing. We are all pushing enthusiasm. But next year, if we are not able to find a new way to finance at European level the common goods we need, common goods are security, innovation, fight against climate change, all of these are goods that we can't address or topics that we can't address at national level. It's too big. Yeah. And we need to have a European way to find money. If we are not able to invent a way in the next months, in my report I proposed this Savings and Investments Union, that is the way to mobilize private capitals, aside with the public one, we will be back to the budget before COVID. And the budget before COVID will mean that all the discussions about these topics will be with minus, not with plus. Because the budget before COVID is a budget is a too frugal and too shy budget. So my key point is that the fifth freedom is fundamental to create also the conditions to have this funding. If we are not able to have this funding, all these discussions here will be discussions without the meanings. And we will not be able to do the most important topic that in these very days, there's a great opportunity with what is happening in the US. Yeah. And the great opportunity, sorry if I'm very, how we say, frank on that, is the fact that Trump is changing the direction of the US. The US, for 1 century, the US were a country where the most talented people in the world were attracted to go. And today, and for the last century, the US always said to the world, you have talent, you have an idea, come to us, and we will win together. The American dream was that. It was great. And today, Trump is telling to the people, don't come here. We don't want you. We have to tell these people, we want you. Europe is here, open to you. We will work with you. We will give you the possibility to expand your talent, to mobilize your energies, and Europe can be this new dream.
So what I hear from you, Enrico, is that we need a sense of urgency when it comes to leadership, because it's not that we don't lack reports. We don't lack people with ideas and initiatives and perspectives. We lack leadership to actually do it, to transform it. And how do we do that? You've done it before, and you're doing it again. So
No,
the commissioner is here. Do you
I-
want to give some advice?
No, I would not dare to do that because she's fantastic and she's going to do the next step of all of these. I would say that, you know, I always say that I was very lucky in life because I had two amazing jobs, the one to be commissioner for science and the other to be mayor. I don't think that prime minister is that interesting. I mean, it's not that, but being mayor and commissioner is the best. The problem is that mayors are not talking enough to commissioners. And so when I went to Lisbon after being a commissioner, first, I mean, every speech I do in Lisbon, there's people from Lisbon here in the audience, I talk about Europe. I always talk about Europe. So I always thank Europe. I always tell the stories. I tell sometimes over and over the stories of people that I've met here and the great things we do. And, you know, when we talk about COVID, I used to say, the COVID vaccine, you know, in 2014, Ingmar Her from CureVac, he came to us. He didn't go to America. Stefan Bancel from Moderna, he's a European. The first person he contacted me at the time about these new vaccines was me here in the commission. He's in Boston, but was that. Ugur Sain, he had a ERC grant, and that's why he actually found a vaccine of BioNTech, then he sold to Pfizer, and then they saved the world. So it was not America. So we should also be assertive. I mean, of course, we don't want to talk politics, but moderates have to be assertive. And we have to be assertive in saying what we are. And, you know, when you look at all the crises, we have done amazing things. But one of the things that we're not doing is to connect the talent and the pipeline of talent in between cities and the European Commission. So I had this idea of having this unicorn factory in Lisbon, which would be just the pipeline for you. So it would be the pipeline of finding these amazing projects in cities that then connect to the EIC, and then with that, you can change it. Because the EIC at the beginning, and I don't know if you know this story, Commissioner, I went to my hearing, which is the worst day of being commissioner, is the hearing. Like you go to the hearing, and then everything else after that is fantastic. And then I said, look, it came to me at the time, something like, we are so good at transforming money into knowledge, but we're not good to transform knowledge into money. And someone at the time, and I think I probably should refer the role of Elga Novotny, of Jean-Pierre Bourguignon, and Jean-Pierre looked at me and said, look, Carlos, but we do that because we have the ERC. And I said, but so we should have the EIC. Because if we have these two pearls, these two jewels in the crown, then we can make a difference. So the EIC was that transformation of money into products, money into innovation. And so the idea was very simple, and the idea was really to look at innovation as a factory, because innovation is very tough. You know, you come to these conferences, and everybody looks happy, but your daily day of getting up in the morning is not easy. You have to do things that you don't like. You have to have a discipline of every morning getting up and making the call that you don't want to do. So the idea of the factory was that. And then the idea of calling unicorn was to have audacity and have ambition. because that's something, you know, and in Portuguese politics, I remember when I started my campaign, I said, I want Lisbon to be the capital of innovation, unicorns. Everybody was laughing at me. It was a disaster. Because what? Because we have never done the link in between innovation and jobs. And so innovation, forget about the word innovation. Call it jobs. The only way to create jobs is what we do. We can call it a lot of things, but it's about the jobs. And so the idea of the unicorn factory, just to get, is like, I would love to see in every city in Europe a unicorn factory that will give you the best of them. And then you create a pyramid. You know, Luca Parmitano, this astronaut that I love to quote, is an Italian astronaut, and he would say, like, if you have a tetrahedron, which is basically a pyramid, and if you want the vertex at the top to go up, you have to increase the base. So the cities are the base. And the only way to get this pyramid to go up is if you have a larger base. That's Europe. And if each city has this base enlarged, then when you get to the EIC, the pyramid goes a little bit higher because you go to the best of the best. And so for me, it was always about that inspiration of getting everyone together in this idea that innovation is tough, innovation is an everyday job, and innovation is about a kind working in a factory. And then at the top of that, you create something that changes the world. And so for me, was really essential. I think that Lisbon got to be the capital of innovation in 2023 because of this amazing project. And I'm super proud of that. So I think that I'm doing my share of the job, and I hope that other mayors do it. And together we can really do a different thing, you know, and make it different. And as you said, make it happen. Just stop. I mean, I think that it's about action. It's not about anything else than action.
And if Lisbon can do it, any big city in Europe can do it. And it's the sum of the effort in every city that creates a strong, innovative Europe. There is no more time. I'm sure we could have sat here for at least a couple of 2 hours. I have so many more questions, so many things I want to discuss and go into depth, but I have to end this. And
Can
again,
we just have a little last word, Enrico and me?
yes.
Because I wanted.
I think
Enrico, do you want to go?
I give you my time.
This is the time where I misbehave and go past time.
Just one, 30 seconds.
Yes, 30 seconds each.
No,
Sorry,
my first
EU.
second is just to underline one point that Commissioner Zarieva mentioned. I think it's very important for all of you, this idea of the 28th regime, because it's the idea to overcome the complexity, the regulations, the bureaucracy, is to create a 28th regime that is a sort of fast track, a passepartout, without cancelling the national legislations, because it would be impossible for political reasons, but creating this 28th regime, having its own fast track. You can choose this one. Choosing this one, you can be able to go everywhere in Europe, and considering Europe really the level playing field. That is, in my view, a great idea. I tried to put it in the report. I have to say I changed my mind on the title, if I may say, because in Italian, regime doesn't... So I prefer to name it... in the report, I put the word regime, sorry for that. Now I use the term virtual state, the 28th virtual state of the European Union. The virtual state of the European Union can be the state of innovation, can be your state.
Thank you.
I just want to, first of all, pick on something that Enrico said that is so important, which is the opportunity that we have. And there's a little book that I advise you to read that I love. I have it all the time with me, called The Usefulness of Useless Knowledge, from Robert de Graaf, Foreign Minister of the Netherlands, and talks about the Institute of Advanced Studies in Princeton, which in the Second World War was the point of turning when all the scientists like Einstein, Lawrence, Hannah Arendt, they all went to the US, to that institute in Princeton. And that was when the world changed from being at the center of Europe, of science, to the US. Now, as you said, Enrico, we have this opportunity to change that. So take it as an opportunity. And that opportunity is done by the people that work at the Commission, at the Parliament, at the Council. And I wanted to thank everyone, because your job is so important. I never thought in my life that this idea in 2015 of the EIC would be today what it is. That's not the job of the politicians. That's the job of you, the ones I'm looking at, so many. And Marc Lemaitre, of course, you represent, and I'm thinking about Robert N. Smith, Jean-Éric Paquet, I see Jean-David Malo, Keith Sequeira, Signe Rada. You know, you, Stefano Aknin, you know, you are Europe. You are Europe. Be proud of that. Be proud of that, because we need you. We need you. You are really an amazing group of people. And the reason for me as a mayor to talk always about Europe is not about the politicians. It's about people like you that make it happen every day. And you are in the shadow, but you are the ones that make that's an idea, a crazy misbehavior in 2015. Today is an institution. And that makes me so proud of being here today. I've not been a long time, I've been not here for a long time, so I'm so moved and I'm so happy. And you know, I really miss you guys, and you are an amazing bunch of people. So the EIC forever and innovation forever. Yeah, so thank you so much. To you. Thank you.